So I'm absolutely convinced that what we're currently seeing is part of a bigger pattern. And the bigger pattern is a changing world order. World orders change every 100, 150 years. There's always a period of transition. And during that period of transition, the tectonic plates of the world order rub against each other. And that's why we're seeing these conflicts: Ukraine, Middle East, South China Sea. And that's why it's important to look beyond these conflicts. It's not just about crisis management. We should shape the emerging world order and make sure that America and Europe still have a place in that. So it's true that right-wing populism with the same topics is actually emerging across pretty much every Western country. So it's wrong to speak about the situation in Germany and think for or look for purely German causes. There's one country that has actually managed to subdue or minimize right-wing populism, and that's Denmark. In Denmark, the right-wing populist party was at 21% 10 years ago. It was the second strongest party. The Social Democrats actually came into power in 2019. They adopted quite an effective and tough migration policy, reducing irregular migration to almost zero. And as a consequence, the right-wing populist party almost disappeared. So that right-wing populist party, which had 21% in 2015, now has 4%, is only the eighth strongest party in the Danish parliament. And maybe solving problems, tackling conflicts within society is part of the solution. So I think it's very important to understand that more and more radicalization into terrorism is taking place online. That for the first time, actually, we see entire radicalization cycles from the beginning to the end play out online. That was different even 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, while much of it was happening online, it was still an offline contact that was necessary in order for it to lead to action. So this is important, this is dangerous, and states have to do something about it. I do think that platforms like TikTok, which are very strongly algorithmically amplified, have to be more careful. And if they don't do anything, states and governments have to compel them to do something against illegal content. But equally, security agencies have to have, for example, more virtual agents. Virtual agents are people that are basically like undercover policemen that used to exist on the street. They are now online. They're infiltrating closed chat rooms and are trying to find out what happens there. We need much more of that. And basically, security agencies have to understand that the internet is a place just like the street or the neighborhood next door is a place. So there's plenty of flashpoints that we are underestimating. I do think that the wider conflict in the Middle East, which is not just about the situation in Gaza, in Palestine, and Israel, the wider conflict of the Middle East is the really important bit. And this is especially about Iran. And the regime in Iran is probably weaker than it has been for many decades. It is weaker externally. Many of its allies no longer exist. Bashar Assad in Syria is gone. Hezbollah is completely destroyed. The Houthis are suffering. But also internally, there's a lot of opposition. Basically, the regime has lost almost the entire urban populations in Iran, a lot of the elites, most young people. And it is really a paper tiger. And we have to see whether that is an opportunity or actually a dangerous moment. In any case, we have to pay a lot more attention to Iran. I do think things are changing rapidly in Iran. And just like the regime in Syria fell within just a few weeks when nobody expected it, I don't think that's completely impossible for the Iranian regime either.